One winter morning in 1943, a legend was born in Dagenham, Essex, a football genius that no one knew would soon die a painful death. What secrets did his final days hold? How did Terry Venables, a legend in football, meet his mysterious end? Let's find out. Terry Venables, or El Tel as everyone in football eventually called him, was born on a chilly January morning in 1943 in Dagenham, Essex. Right from the start, he had a spark about him. His parents, Fred, a no-nonsense Navy petty officer, and Myrtle, a lively Welsh woman, never would have guessed their son was destined to become a football legend. When Terry was 13, life took a turn and he ended up living with his grandparents, Ossie and Millie, in Romford, where they managed a pub. Back then, just kicking a scruffy football around in the garden, no one could have imagined that he'd light up the big stadiums one day. "Grandpa, do you think I'll ever play for England?" Terry would ask with big, hopeful eyes. Ossie, already seeing the potential in him, just smiled and said, "With your spirit, Terry, there's nothing you can't do." And he was right. Terry Venables really made a name for himself, playing for teams like Chelsea, Tottenham, Queen's Park Rangers and Crystal Palace, and even wearing the England jersey as a senior player, making his family super proud. But it was as a manager that Terry truly left his indelible mark on the world of football. To see him captaining Palace to the Second Division Championship in 1979, just listen to the roar of the crowd. Or bringing a charged atmosphere to the 1982 FA Cup final with Queen's Park Rangers. Heck, he even took QPR to another Second Division title in 1983. But surely the pinnacle to date had to be this redefining period at FC Barcelona. Barcelona needed a hero in the mid-80s, and that hero was Terry Venables. Through his return to glory when he won La Liga in 1985 and finished runner-up in the European Cup final a year later. In 1986, he brought some lost lustring to a desperate club. Defeat also came his way, in that crushing defeat to Steaua Bucharest on penalties in the final. How did he respond to losing in such a crushing fashion? With grace and determination, just like that which defined most of his own career. In England, he revived the national team to some life from 1994 to 1996, with tactical brilliance and a touch of his personality. And then, of course, there was Euro '96. Under his unconventional plan, England functioned superbly, reaching the semi-finals and producing moments of joy and sadness which remain treasured and sorely felt. But Terry Venables' career had its ups and downs. He split from Alan Sugar, the chairman of Spurs, and left the club in early 1993 amid some controversy over his business dealings. But those who really knew Terry looked past the drama. By November 2023, word got around that Terry was sick. He dealt with it in his own quiet, dignified way. Sadly, he passed away in his sleep on November 25, 2023. He was in his 80s, and people like Daniel Alarcón and Carlos Vázquez felt both sadness and a sense of celebration for his life. The football community was heartbroken. His wife Yvette said, "He wasn't just a football legend. He was our rock, our guiding light." Gary Lineker, who played under Terry at Barcelona and Spurs, was really hit hard. He was a friend, a mentor, and a football genius. I can't even begin to explain how much he influenced my life. Terry left a lasting mark on football, especially with Barcelona from 1984 to 1987. He led them to a Liga title in 1985 and almost snagged a European Cup in 1986. His leadership really helped put the team back on the map. The Barcelona team loved him, and he could express his tactical genius. He fielded a classic English 4-4-2 formation, balancing robust defence with hard work in midfield and attack. Players like Bernd Schuster and Steve Archibald replied well to his injections, and the team played with flair combined with discipline that won them many admirers. Venables sensationally returned to England to take over at Tottenham Hotspur, the highlights being the FA Cup triumph of 1991 and that enduring managerial calibre. However, the biggest challenge of all came when he was appointed as the national team's manager for England in 1994. Euro '96 became something of a landmark. It was ridden by massive pressure on English football, but from day one, with an impressive, almost revolutionary way of playing, with a lot of spirit from the team, Venables led England to the semi-finals. It was absolutely laden with moments. Gascoigne's superb goal to play against Scotland and the gut-wrenching penalty shootout against Germany are two of the moments that replay over and over again in the memories of many football fans. One of the standout decisions he made at the time was to include a young David Beckham in his squad. Beckham, who would then go on to become one of football's most iconic inspirations, would repeatedly say that Venables had a huge bearing on his fledgling career at the time. "Terry believed in me when I was just starting out," recalled Beckham. "He gave me confidence and taught me so much about the game. I'll always be grateful to him." After his time with England, Venables' career saw him manage Australia, Crystal Palace again, Middlesbrough and Leeds United. Each post had its own problems and successes, but never detracted from his passion for the game. Although this brought disappointment at its end in failing to qualify for Euro 2008, his return to the England setup as assistant to Steve McLaren in 2006 was testimony to an enduring love for the game and a desire to help the national team. As rumours of his illness spread during the month of November 2023, the whole footballing world waited with bated breath to hear news. Terry Venables, the man who had given so much to the sport, was in his toughest ever battle. On 25th of November, he finally passed away peacefully in his sleep, leaving a legacy that will be remembered for generations. The outpouring of tributes was overawing. He was not just a football legend, his faithful wife Yvette tearfully said, but he was our rock, our guiding light. Gary Lineker, who played for both Venables at Barcelona and Spurs, responded on Twitter, "He was a friend, a mentor, and a football genius. He changed my life in ways I can't even begin to describe." Moved almost to tears, Alan Shearer said, "Rest in peace, boss. You were amazing. I'll always cherish the moments we shared." David Beckham remembered the role Venables played. "He was more than a manager to me. He was a mentor, a friend. Terry's belief in me gave me the belief to fulfill my potential, and I will never forget his wisdom and warmth." The applause pre-match at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium ahead of the Aston Villa game was deafening and a major debt to a guy who had given football so much. Words from Dutch, now Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou captured the spirit of Venables perfectly. In Terry, if ever a person embodied this club, it was him. He wasn't just a manager, he was a visionary, somebody who saw the game in ways others couldn't. Former England defender Gary Neville said he was the most technically gifted British coach we've ever produced. Barcelona, whose influence he permeated deeper still, paid their own tribute about how Venables changed the course for their team when he was at the helm. From a young boy in Dagenham to a footballing legend, Terry Venables fills the air with the aura of passion, innovation, and indomitable spirit. His life is proof of the wonders and the love the beautiful game can generate, filled with triumphs and trials. While in mourning, we celebrate the indelible legacy of El Tel, a man whose spirit will continue to inspire for generations. On that final note, it was a small private funeral at which his family bade Terry Venables farewell. Photographs from many moments in his illustrious career, times with his family, everything, decorated the walls in the room. Yvette gazed at a photograph of Terry in his prime, and tears ran down her face. "Thank you for everything, Terry," she whispered. "You gave us all so much. You lived a life full of love and passion." But their kids also came up and spilled sweet and touching anecdotes of their father, sharing that he was more than the football legend, but a very good father who would take time to go home despite his busy career. "He was our hero," his son said. Not because of what he did on the field as a professional football player, but because of his love and kindness that he had always shown us. As the whole football world continues to pay tribute to Terry Venables, his legacy is alive and has not checked out with him. Young managers look at his tactics, while players look up to his career, while fans remember the thrilling minutes he gave them through the game. He leaves more than a legacy in trophies and titles. He leaves the very many touched lives as well as the love of the game repaid to them as much as he felt. Venables tells the story of a lad in Dagenham through to one of the much-loved footballing icons. His life, a life teeming with triumphs and failures, bears testimony to the power of perseverance and love of the game. Like, subscribe as we bid farewell to El Tel, who poured life into the magical world of football.